Hi everyone! So since I call myself Paleo Preggers, the most common question I get asked is if I think everyone should eat paleo. Now to me, paleo is really just eating real food. So I'd be shocked if there's any diet out there that doesn't think eating real food is the healthiest thing to do. So unless there's some kind of diet made by the corn or the soy industry, in which case please do not follow that. So that's what I'm all about, and that's what I think the healthiest thing to do is. Eat real food, get rid of the junk, get rid of the processed sugar, and definitely get rid of the processed fats. I don't pay a lot of attention to macros. So I hear a lot about how pregnant women need to eat a high carb diet. That idea is ludicrous to me. I also don't think you should necessarily be eating a low carb diet, but the body and the brain is primarily made up of fats and water. So I think the most important thing to do to support your developing baby is to eat healthy fats and drink water from the best possible sources. So if you focus primarily on eating real food, you're probably setting yourself and your baby up for success. The other important point here is to try to cook your own food as much as possible. I know it takes more prep, it does take more time, but ultimately it will give you the healthiest outcome. Restaurants, they use the cheapest possible oils they can find. They almost all use corn oils or vegetable oils, and those wreak havoc on your body. So if you can, eat home as often as possible. I personally like to try to experiment with one new recipe a week. It definitely allows me to sort of switch it up. And if I find something that's really easy to do and tastes delicious, I can add it in as a regular thing to make. So when I do cook, I usually just search online for different recipes. I like to search for paleo or gluten-free because most of the time those are going to be you're going to get healthier results that way. I've searched for broccoli recipes in the past and, I get a recipe that has breadcrumbs and brown sugar. And you've just taken something that is really amazing for you and you've turned it into an absolutely awful food. So one thing that I will note here is that in some senses, gluten-free can be a little bit misleading. And this goes especially for baked goods. Now, I personally love baking. My go-tos, I use honey or maple syrup as a sweetener, and I like to use almond flour and coconut flour as, the base, the filler of it. A lot of gluten-free recipes call for tapioca flour, teff flour. There are so many different types of gluten-free flours out there right now. But unless you have celiacs, those flours can spike your insulin levels just as high or even higher than regular white flour can do. So in regards to baked goods, you can definitely, I do think that paleo tends to be better. Now, if you're going for taste, I will say a mix of different flours usually tastes the best. Usually recipes that are going to have 3 or 4 different flours to make, those are going to taste much more like the terrible for you baked products that have white flour in them. So if you're going for taste, go that way. But if you're going for health, I would stick to almond and or coconut flour. Now, that being said, to add to this, if you really want to geek out, I do also recommend trying to eat with the seasons. So in a paleo world, we'd probably be eating food off the land where we live, not shipping in food from South America that we get from the grocery store. So there's this guy, Jack Cruz, and he's got this theory, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I can't tell you if there's real science behind it, but he talks a lot about light, water, and magnetism and how it relates to your mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. And when you're pregnant, your baby's cells are multiplying as quickly as possible because he or she is growing at an alarming rate. So you ideally want your mitochondria functioning at the best level. The cells will be created much more quickly, much more effectively, and much better if you're supporting your mitochondria on in a good way. Now, this is relevant to seasonal eating because let's say you live in Boston and it's winter and you're eating a banana. The theory is basically there's not enough light during the day to grow that banana in Boston. So the light and ultimately the energy that it took to grow that banana is going to be processed in your body differently in the winter than in the summer because you personally are getting in more natural light in the summer than you will in the winter. I will say it is very hard if you live in cold climates to eat seasonally. There's only so many winter squashes and root vegetables that, a gal can eat, but it's a great goal to have if you can swing it. And I will also say, ultimately, a banana in the winter is going to be much better for you than a potato chip or a sugar slash flour filled cereal breakfast that you could have. So, take this with a grain of salt. Just try to eat real food as much as possible. Food that grows from the ground or comes from animals that are raised in the most humane possible ways. So I know I'll eventually put together a few videos delving into more of all this in detail, but I wanted to give a basic overview of what I personally mean by paleo. This is probably one of the longer videos. Most of the videos that I'm going to put out are going to be quick tips, and I'll be trying to post those pretty regularly. So please subscribe if you want to get them, and please like, comment, and share if you enjoyed this or think somebody else might like it. So stay healthy out there, everybody, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.